Hi, welcome to 808. I'm so excited that you're here. I know we're going to have a wonderful time learning together in this course and in 809. My name is Kelly Samson-Rickert, and I will be your instructor for the next two courses. So we're going to be spending 16 weeks together, and I'm just delighted to be here and happy to have you. I want to go through a few things that we're going to cover in 808 so that you have an idea about where we're going with the course. Maybe eliminate some fears you might have about the course or the coursework that you might see in front of you with the syllabus. It is lofty work, but we're going to get through it, and we're going to do a great job getting you from that pre-proposal to the proposal at the end of 809. So hopefully many of you will walk away with a proposal ready to go and be able to really start feeling that accomplishment that you're on the road to that dissertation. So I'm really excited, like I said, to be here and to be a part of this process with you. And I'm hoping really to share with you some of the things that I learned during my process and my coursework, and some tips, maybe some tips to the trade to kind of help you gain as much as you can out of the process, but also maybe not trip and fall so much too. So I'm really here to be a support factor for you and to help you out. There are some things that we're going to go through in the course that are very prominent to your study. Many of you have already, as I've been reading some of the proposals, pre-proposals, seen that you're working on your problem statements and your purpose of your study. I've read some of the review of the lit. It looks very nice, very well done so far. So we're going to take it to that next level, and that's what we're going to do in this course. We're going to find out exactly what it is that you want to know with your study and why you want to know it, and who your audience is and who you're going to be informing with your research information that you gather, and also how you're going to turn that research into something that's meaningful and that has purpose for you, so that it is accomplishing that goal. It is the purpose of your study. It's no one else's study, only yours. So you really can't go too wrong in this process, as long as you stay focused. And I think one of the most difficult things that I encountered in my dissertation process was keeping a very narrow focus and not getting too lofty in the review of the lit, and really tightening it up so that I had materials in there that would inform where I was going with my research, but I didn't put in a lot of extra that would confuse a reader so they didn't understand where I was going in the research. And so I think that's important that we're going to talk about. So in this class, what you can expect is that we're going to do the purpose of the study. We're going to spend a considerable amount of time there because that is just such a foundation, knowing where you're going with that study and the purpose, and narrowing that down so that you're very clear and concise. And I consider this part of the process, especially now that you have your pre-proposal and you're coming here, is we're gonna do some cleaning of the closets. That's a good word for it. We'll call it cleaning the closet, because we're going to take out some of the clutter. There might be some things in the review of the lit that you've done so far in your pre-proposal. There might be some things that you throw away that aren't needed, that you find that I did research that, I did review that lit, I did put it in there for a reason at the time, but now as you define and really focus in on that purpose of the study, some of that information might not be so important to you anymore, and it might not be informing your study, it might not be helping your study to move forward. And so that's where we're going to do some of that real tossing some things out and putting some really great things in. So we're going to be refining. So I call this the refining process here, but we're definitely going to narrow in on that purpose of the study, and then the problem statement, and really defining that problem statement so that as you're working through those questions, the research questions, making those also quite narrow, so that you are staying really focused and real tight. That way when you get to your review of the literature, as I mentioned, some of the things that you have in there you're gonna probably see on adding value, and I know value is a hard thing to put your hands around, but what you want to do is have clarity and a sense of purpose so that your reader and the person that's reading your research really understands this is where this research is going, this is what this research is going to be about, and this is what this research isn't going to be about, and why. And so that's what we're going to really key in on those first 1 to 3 modules. Module 4, we're going to get a little bit more into the mapping of the lit review. We're going to get into the concepts, conceptual framework, and mapping. Kind of, okay, what concepts? What are the themes? What are the general big rocks? I call them the big rocks. What are the big rocks in my review of the lit? What are the big rocks in my research based on my research questions that I really want to address, that I can't live without that part. I can't live without that piece of the lit. And so as you're defining that and working through that process, we're going to be working through the conceptual framework and the theoretical framework. And I believe in our 4th week, we're going to have Dr. Desjardins come and speak with you via webinar. And he is a professor from Canada, and I'm going to make sure that you have his bio up front, but he does an absolutely brilliant job at explaining the theoretical framework, and so that's really nice. And then as we move on and you really start tightening up that review of the literature, you're going to start really focusing in on that and trying to define now, okay, where am I going with this? How am I going to turn and make that transition from the review of the lit and get myself into the method section? How am I going to get there? And we're going to talk about that in 808. Towards the end, we're really going to talk about it. 809 is really where we're going to address that. But most importantly in this whole process is, what is it that you want to know? And why do you want to know it? I think that's really what we're going to really spend a lot of time on in 808, is exactly that. What do you want to know, and what do you want to do with it? Who do you want to inform your stakeholders? Who do you want to inform as your audience? What do you plan to do with this research when it's done, when it's completed and you've finished? What are you going to do with your dissertation? And how are you going to use that dissertation to make a difference? How are you going to use it to really provide some action items, some real emphasis on your goals for the purpose of your study? And so where is that going to lead you? And so as we talk about these things, and as we start working on this together in 808, I think you're going to find something that I did, and that's why I'm kind of hoping that we can work through some of those areas where you don't fall into some of the stumbling blocks, but really use the review of the lit as we're going through this and tightening it up. That can be used in your dissertation. So that's something that you want to do and just think about as you're going through this, because that review of the lit, even though you're still going to continue beyond your proposal to build that out, there's a lot of it that you can use. And so you want to make sure as you go along in the process that you're also keying in on making sure that things are tight when it comes to your references, and making sure that you follow through on using all of the proper APA style, because you're going to be able to use that material. You won't be able to use any data if we get an 809 and we end up to the point where we can collect a little bit of data. You can't use that data in the dissertation. You have to be fresh with your dissertation in terms of your data. So at the end of 808, we're going to talk about methods, and we're going to talk about some of the methods that you could use, and you'll go back to your purpose of the study. You're going to go back to your problem statement. You're going to keep revisiting those 2 items and the research questions. And so you'll keep focused on those areas, those key areas, as you build through your study. And then as you're making that transition from the review of the lit to the methods, that's where I think it's all going to start to make a little bit more sense, and at the same time get a little bit more confusing. And let me explain how that happens, or at least how it happened to me and several of my classmates. When I went through, a lot of us were thinking we're doing qualitative. We're definitely going to do qualitative, and we're hanging our hat on that, and we were thinking it has to be. It just has to be, because the review of the lit, a lot of the studies that I've been looking at, they're all qualitative. This has to be qualitative. Well, that might not necessarily be the case when you get right down to it and you start going, what is it I really want to know? What do I want to know when I get done? And you're thinking, well, how am I going to get that data and how am I going to get that information? And then you might be going, ooh, in addition to qualitative, I might actually have to do a little quantitative in there. And then I might even end up with a little bit of a mixture of a study. And that's called the mixed methods. So we're going to talk about that. But I don't want you to get scared or anything about this course and how this course is going to be built. It is lofty. It's a lot of work. And it's a lot of work because the other stumbling block that I want you to hopefully not get into is to be self-disciplined enough so that on those weeks when you have the time to write and to refine your review of the lit, because there is time in this course for that, you need that time to make that a real proposal. You have to be disciplined. And so in this process, I'm hoping that if there's anything I can give to you, it's how to set yourself up with a structure so that when you are on those weeks where you're writing and researching, that you're sticking to it. It's easy to get off target sometimes when you don't have a deliverable on time that has to be, handed in and finite. And this is it, and here's my paper. So this is a process, okay? And so we're going to go through that process together. And I'm just totally so happy and excited to be here. My goal has always been to not have my degree so that I had extra alphabet at the end of my name. That's not my goal. I really want to give back. I want to give back to education. I want to give back to students like yourself that are going forward to be great researchers out there for us and to inform the community and society on great research and the types of things that we can do in the field of education. So I am very, very thrilled, and I hope all of you are thrilled too. There's some pretty, like I said, high expectations, but as you're refining that review of the lit, and as we're getting this pre-proposal into a proposal at the end of 809, when we can tell congratulations, yay, and we can stamp it with proposal instead of pre-proposal, you're just going to be one step closer to a dissertation, right? And the best dissertation is a done dissertation. That's my rule of thumb. So we're going to get you through this process. I'm excited. Obviously, I keep saying that to you, but know that you have an instructor that's passionate and energetic about what you're doing, and hopefully that's gonna be contagious. Yep, we're gonna work together. We're gonna energize each other. Okay, so that's what we're gonna do in 808. 809 is gonna be extra fun too, because we're going to get into methods, and methods is fun, exhilarating, confusing, frustrating, and all that too. So you can look forward to that. Again, great speaker in week 4. Week 4, going to have a great speaker on the webinar. So, and otherwise, I look forward to collaborating with you and to reading your postings on the discussion board and just having a great time. So I hope you feel at ease. Again, it's Kelly is what you can refer to me throughout the course, and y'all have my information, and it is my goal to get back to you usually within 24 to 48 hours. I try my best to get back to students when I can, but I want to think about things and make sure that as I'm getting back to you, I'm getting back to you with the kind of information that is helpful to you. And sometimes that takes a little research myself. So, but you do have a commitment that I will try to get back to each and every one of you when you reach out to me for help or assistance. Have a wonderful evening. And again, welcome to 808.